The toad puffed itself up twice its size so that it looked like a small toad-shaped balloon. It began to hiss. But this time, Wolfboy did not draw back. As his hand began to close over the toad, the creature stopped hissing and shrunk back to its normal size. There was something dark about the grubby hand, scarred from the tracker ball, that the toad recognised. Taking Wolfboy by surprise, the toad slipped from under his hand and hopped off the door knocker. It lifted it up and let it fall with a resounding bang. Then the toad resumed its place on the door knocker and closed its eyes. Wolfboy was prepared to wait, but he did not have to wait long. Soon he heard the sound of heavy footsteps on bare boards coming towards him, and a moment later the door was wrenched open. A young woman dressed in raggedy stained black coven robes peered out. She had a huge pink towel wrapped round her head and big staring blue eyes. She very nearly stopped, "Yeah," as usual, but then she remembered that it was the dark toad that had knocked. Taking care to keep her towel balanced, she stood up straight and said in her formal witch voice, which was bizarrely squeaky and shot up at the end of the sentence, "What be your business?" Wolfboy's mind went blank. The taste of dried cabbage leaves and crushed beetle filled his mouth once more. What was it he had to say? He couldn't remember. He stared at the young woman. She didn't look too scary. She had big blue eyes and a squashy-looking nose. In fact, she almost seemed nice, though there was something peculiar about her, something that he couldn't quite figure out. Oh, there was a weird, bristly grey flap thingy escaping from underneath the towel. What was that? Oh, didn't they bewitchers have elephant ears? I remember now. Yeah. The young witch, whose name was Dorinda, began to close the door. That's why she always wears a towel on her head. At last, Wolfboy remembered what he had to say. I have come to feed the Grim," he said. "What?" said Dorinda. "You're kidding me, aren't you?" And then she remembered what she was supposed to say. She just readjusted her towel once more and resumed her squeaky voice. "So be it," she said. "Enter, Grim Feeder." Unfortunately, he was not kidding, thought Wolfboy, as he stepped into the house of the Port Witch Coven, and the door began to close behind him. He wished he were. There was nothing he would like better right then than to step back into the sunny street and run all the way home to the marshes where he belonged. The thought of the marshes made Wolfboy remember that being in this ghastly place actually had something very important to do with the marshes and all the things he loved there. And so, as he followed Dorinda down the dark passageway deep into the house of the Port Witch Coven, he kept that in mind. He was determined to do what he had come to do, tentacles and all. The passageway was pitch black and treacherous. Wolfboy followed the rustling sound of Dorinda's robes as they swept along the rough floor. Just in time, he sidestepped a gaping hole from which a foul smell rose, only to be assailed by a sudden onslaught of bothers, not brothers. Bothered one of them very prickly. Frantically, Wolfboy had battered the bothers away to the accompaniment of Dorinda's giggles. But he was not bothered again, as word of the touch of the dark toad quickly spread through the bother community, and Wolfboy was left at a respectful distance. Wolfboy followed Dorinda deeper into the house. At last they came to a tattered black curtain hanging in front of a door. As Dorinda drew back the curtain, clouds of dust made Wolfboy cough. The dust tasted foul, of things long dead. Dorinda pushed open the door which someone had taken a huge chunk out of with an axe, and he followed her into the kitchen. It was just as weird as the time he'd escaped the coven with Septimus, Jenna and Nico, hands burning from the touch of Sleuth, the tracker ball. The windows were covered in shreds of black cloth and a thick coat of grease, which kept the light out. The filthy room was illuminated only by a dull reddish glow which came from an old stove. Reflected in the glow were dozens of pairs of glittering cat's eyes.